good night. So now I want to share with you text, a semi-text called German issue. It's written by Annette Weisser. It's published on afterall.org. So here we go. Some time ago, an acquaintance in Los Angeles lent me his copy of the German issue, a magazine on German culture and politics published by Semi-Text in 1982. After I mentioned it, I'd been researching the Alien Forces Reeducation films at the University of California Film Archive. I was immediately fascinated. In terms of design, production, and choice of text and images, the German issue was familiar and foreign at the same time, brand new yet outdated. Of course, almost any print product forgets a link between past and present, but the German issue seemed to possess some mysterious and direct connection with the present, as if its presence in the here and now might be able to influence the past and vice versa. It gave the impression that if the trails laid by the book on its appearance in 1982 had been followed, the cultural political climate in reunified Germany would be different. Not a time machine of a magazine, then, but a wormhole. In the reissue, the magazine's copy shop aesthetic is instantly familiar. Sadly, however, the new version lacks the manually inserted umlauts of the first. And so too is the brash rhetoric of the series of images with photographs of piles of corpses in liberated concentration camps, appearing alongside shots of Volkswagen Beetle chassis on factory assembly lines, or pictures of a Bruce counter and its warriors, images of machines and police officers in action, German shepherd dogs, and the then infamous German politician Franz Josef Strauss. Punk fanzines of the period look much the same, but in between the rest one discovers cryptic material and close-ups, but of what exactly? Concentration camp photographs that might be film stills, or heaps of shoes that, on closer inspection, prove to have been photographed at the summer sales. Is it all a faintly sadistic game toying with the German guilt reflex? A recurrent motif is the border separating East and West Germany, a pictorial strip which runs through the whole book and divides the pages into two unequal halves, begins in New York with photographs of Wall Street and culminates in a comic strip about a former member of the League of German Girls, BDM, who, thanks to the re-education efforts of liberating geese, becomes an all-American sweetheart. A wall of pictures. While the names of the authors are mostly familiar, it's unusual to see these thinkers, writers, artists, filmmakers, Berlin underground celebrities, political activists, and sexual libertarians, all in one place. Silver Lotringer would lack any knowledge of German, throw up the German issue together with Heidi Paris, to whose memory the reissue is dedicated, and Peter Gente, the founder of the Berlin-based Mehr Verlag publishing house. Pita kept a basket of articles he found interesting, which he occasionally assembled into small books. Some of them found their way into the German issue, even though Pita hadn't read them all. He instinctively knew what would be good, and the selection of authors we made together is probably one of the best that could have been done at the time, and certainly remains unique to this day. Gente's basket contained, amongst other things, a hilarious report by filmmaker Herbert Achtenbusch along a trip to California, Ulrich Meinhof's essay Revolt of the Situation of Foster Children in State-Run Institutions, a review by Michael Foucault of Pierre Boulez's legendary production of Richard Wagner's Ring Cycle from 1976, Martin Heidegger's response to an attack published in 1950 concerning his relation to National Socialism, a manifesto-like text by Hans Jürgen Seiberberg in defense of his controversial Hitler, a film from Germany, a conversation with Charlotte, a then well-known Berlin transvestite about her struggle for sexual self-determination under different regimes, and texts by Christa Wolf, Maurice Blanchett, Felix Guattari, Alexander Kluge, Oswald Wiener, Joseph Beuys, Andre Kors, to name a few. Lothringer contributed a number of interviews, such as ones with French artist Christo about his idea of wrapping the Reichstag, with playwright Heinrich Müller about life on both sides of the Berlin Wall. Müller, who chose to live in East Berlin, had been one of the privileged GDR intellectuals who were allowed to travel freely. With Daniel Cohn-Bendit, a prominent figure of the student movement in both France and Germany, who later became co-founder of the German Green Party, with Paul Virilio on his concept of pure war, with William Burroughs on terrorism, or with Annette Humpe, singer of German new wave band Ideal, on guilt. The German issue appeared as a follow-up project to Autonomia, which Semiotext likewise reissued 2 years ago. Wholly dissimilar at first glance, both magazines are permeated by Lothringer's interest in new social movements. Uprisings in Italy and the women's peace and squatters movements in Germany. What is visible in these movements was a new form of political agency that left behind the hierarchical structures of the Communist Party and its Marxist-Leninist cadres, and by extension, the militancy of the Red Brigades in Italy or of the RAF in Germany. Lothringer once more. When the German issue was first published in 1982, the world was still starkly divided into two antagonistic blocks, and our intention was to loosen them up in all sorts of ways, as we did earlier with other binary oppositions that regulate culture. The wall that used to separate East and West Berlin at the time was the stark embodiment of the struggle between the two systems, capitalism and communism, and it runs as well through every page of the German issue. And exactly there, in fact, lay the line of flight offered by the thinking of the new French philosophers, as they were known at the time, who had advanced far beyond the narrow political horizons of even the undogmatic left. In 1992, according to the interview with Humpe, it was still considered hip among left-wingers to know somebody who knows somebody who knew Ulrich Meinhof. To that extent, Lothringer's German friends Heidi Paris and Gente were his natural allies. Saint Merve's mission as a publishing house in Berlin was similar to that of Semiotext in New York, to make accessible, in Mer Verlag's case to a German-speaking audience, in Semiotext to English speakers, the writings of Foucault, Gilles Deleuze, Guattari, Baudrillard, Virilio, and Jean-François Lyotard. Such an inclusive ethos remains palpable throughout the magazine. The German issue resulted from an attitude of collaboration, confidence, and intellectual curiosity. The first time I picked up a text by Deleuze and Guattari, I was in my mid-20s and had already turned my back on the anarcho-autonomous left-wing scene, and Anti-Oedipus 1972, which appeared in Germany as a sleek Surkamp Verlag paperback in 1977, was not exactly appealing to punks up for some strict action. In this context, the German issue, with its bold layout and non-academic approach, would have been the missing link we could have done with back then in provincial South Germany in order to slot the new French philosophers into our own political landscape. And in that regard, especially Jean Baudrillard's contribution, or Theatre of Cruelty, on the German autumn in 1977. Now, as a resident of California, I can view my country from the outside through the German issue and concoct my own story to serve my North American friends as a plausible legend. The German issue is as untimely today as it was 25 years ago, says Lothringer in the preface, and equally useful, I am tempted to add. The decade that led up the fall of the Berlin Wall seemed to have been removed from our collective memory together with the rumble of that monument, a revisitation of the 1980s, the acute fear of global nuclear extinction, the distinct knowledge that because of our geopolitical position Germany would be the first to go, and the complex and conflicting ways in which these fears resonated with our own responsibility for the Holocaust, clarifies our sense of what Germany has become by turning our attention to the anxious self-awareness it has lost in the process. In terms of design, production, and choice of text and images, the German issue was familiar and foreign at the same time, brand new yet outdated. Of course, almost any print product forgets a link between past and present, but the German issue seemed to possess some mysterious and direct connection with the present, as if its presence in the here and now might be able to influence the past and vice versa. It gave the impression that if the trails laid by the book on its appearance in 1982 had been followed, the cultural political climate in reunified Germany would be different. Not a time machine of a magazine, then. Some time ago, an acquaintance in Los Angeles lent me his copy of the German issue, a magazine on German culture and politics published by Semiotext in 1982. After I mentioned it, I'd been researching the Alien Forces Reeducation films at the University of California Film Archive. I was immediately fascinated, but a wormhole. In the reissue, the magazine's copy shop aesthetic is instantly familiar. Sadly, however, the new version lacks the manually inserted umlauts of the first. And so too is the brash rhetoric of the series of images with photographs of piles of corpses in liberated concentration camps appearing alongside shots. Hello, good night. So now I want to share with you a semi-text called German issue. It's written by Annette Weisser. It's published on afterall.org. So here we go.